What's up guys, my name's Brandon and I already showed you all of the new Apple Intelligence features in iOS 18.2, but in this video, we're going to go into much more detail about the ChatGPT extension on iOS and macOS because there's not only some hidden tricks that you probably didn't know about, but there's also a lot of misinformation out there that I'm going to be putting to rest. Okay, so first things first, ChatGPT is disabled by default, so you do need to enable this once you update to iOS 18.2 or macOS 15.2. So just go to your settings, Apple Intelligence and Siri, go down to extensions and you will see ChatGPT and you need to turn this toggle on. And right below that, you will see a sign in button. And that is completely optional because ChatGPT on the iPhone is completely free to use and also does not require an OpenAI or ChatGPT account. That is totally optional and you really only need to sign in if you want to keep a record of your requests. If you want to be able to go back and continue a previous conversation, which for a lot of people, that will be very handy. So I would recommend creating an account and signing in, but you do not need to. Now, one of the questions I've received a lot is ChatGPT on the iPhone secure? And this is where some of the misinformation begins because yes, ChatGPT on your iPhone is secure. And by default, you do have to confirm that you want Siri to request to use ChatGPT to answer a question. This happens every time you ask a question unless you disable this toggle right here that says confirm ChatGPT requests. But Apple took additional steps to ensure that your data is secure because none of your queries or data is going to be stored by OpenAI, and also none of your data will be used to train the ChatGPT models, and Apple even obscures your IP address when the data is routed to ChatGPT. And once again, this all comes back to the best part about this is that you never need to create an account. So there's really nothing linking back to you when you use ChatGPT, especially if you are signed out. And then right below the sign-in section, we have advanced capabilities. And this is by far the most confusing part of the ChatGPT extension, and also the part where there's a lot of misinformation out there about how this actually works. So I want to talk about that. I want to discuss it and also how this will impact your overall experience using ChatGPT. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But first, I want to show you how ChatGPT actually works because it does a lot more than just answering questions that Siri can't answer. But let's start with some of those, complex questions that Siri cannot answer. So here are 5 examples. I'm going to a New Year's party and need some fun appetizer ideas with instructions. And there you go. You can see some of our fun and delicious appetizer ideas along with the instructions for how to make it. And of course, you will always want to copy a result if it is something lengthy like this. What's a polite way to decline an invitation without making it awkward? Include the name John. I need to save $10,000 in 1 year and I make $5,000 a month. Write a detailed budget plan. And there we go. It will show us our monthly income and our savings goal on a per month basis. And of course, we have our expenses breakdown, which you can continue on with ChatGPT and customize these to your liking to get that budget plan to work. And of course, you can extend onto this as well. So let's just say, for example, my mortgage is actually $2,500 a month, and it will adjust those calculations based on your mortgage being more than it said beforehand, or whatever the case may be for your queries. Explain quantum mechanics like I'm 10 years old. Help me plan a 7-day trip to Italy with a mix of historical sites and food tours. So those are just some examples of some queries that you can ask ChatGPT, and you can get some pretty good answers about pretty much anything that you ask it. I find myself using ChatGPT now way more often than Google if I have a question, especially now that it's built in with Siri and I can just say it with my voice. And by the way, you could always ask ChatGPT by default by simply starting off your query with ChatGPT. So for example, if I say, ChatGPT, what's 5 times 5? Clearly something that, Siri can answer, but it will force use ChatGPT if you say ChatGPT within your query, whether that's at the end or at the beginning. Now, here's something a lot of people do not realize you can do. So if I go into my notes here, and let's just say I got a quote here, and I'm wondering if the pricing is good or not. So maybe I need to get my lawn mowed bush trimming, fertilizing, all of that, but I don't know if I'm being ripped off or not, and this is pretty hard to Google. So what I can do is say, ChatGPT, look at these prices and tell me if you think I'm getting ripped off. And take a look at this. It says, send this content from notes, and it will automatically take a screenshot for you. And you could actually tap on this right here to insert the full content. So you can see that right here, it cuts off. It doesn't actually show within the screenshots the summary and the total down here, but I can select full content. That way, it will actually turn this, screenshot into a PDF here within ChatGPT, and it will input everything that was in this note, and I can send this, and now it will answer the question that I just asked if I'm getting ripped off or not with these prices. So let's see what it says. And it gives me a breakdown of each item along with the price, and it tells me if it thinks the price is reasonable or not. This also works really well on macOS by either referencing something on your screen or just telling ChatGPT to look at what's on the screen. Now, let's say, for example, you already had a photo or you already have a document saved and it's not currently on your screen. How can you get ChatGPT to reference that item? Well, you would do that using writing tools, because if you go into your notes, for example, and you go to the writing tools, at the bottom, we have a brand new section called Compose, and this will use ChatGPT, and this is where you can basically describe what you'd like to write, and ChatGPT will create that for you. However, when you start to type in here, you will see to the left right here, we have a plus. If you tap on that, you can get access to file and image. And this is where you can select a file or an image to reference and then ask a question based on that file. Okay, so I attached a PDF document here about Apple Intelligence, and I said, what are the top 3 features in a real life use case for each? And now if I tap on send, it will reference that file that I uploaded, and it will actually show me the answer to my question. So let's see what it comes up with. So it says top 3 features of Apple Intelligence, and it will tell me exactly, how that works and the real life use case. So it's not the best here. It actually numbered everything in a weird way, but you can see that it did give me the result, and it was referencing the PDF document. Now, the best part about this is you could actually get suggestions down here from ChatGPT as well. So if you want to add more features and use cases, include user testimonials, whatever the case may be, you can do that. Or if you don't like how it turned out, you could just simply rewrite. So I didn't like the formatting, so let's see if I rewrite if the formatting is any better. And that did not make it better, so I can just tell it myself to format this better. Okay, and there we go. It is better now. So it shows 1, 2, and 3. So there we go. That got the job done, and I like how this turned out. So the Compose feature is great for referencing files, but it's also great for just creating text based on a prompt. And by the way, you do not have to use this in Notes. This is also available in other applications as well. So let's go into my Messages app. So let's say I'm planning to have a New Year's party, and I need to write an invite that's going to be convincing enough to make people want to come. That's an instance where I might use ChatGPT and the Compose feature because I'm not that great at writing party invites. So let's try this out. So I'll put in, write a New Year's Eve party invite that sounds so fun, nobody can say no. And let's go ahead and hit on continue for that. And let's see the party invite that it comes up with. And by the way, you will see that I did go over my daily limit, and it says request will use ChatGPT's basic version for up to 24 hours. So again, we'll touch on why that shows up and what the actual difference is here in a moment. And take a look at this. ChatGPT was able to understand that I'm trying to write a party invite, and it requested additional details like my name, the party date and time, the location, and so on. And there we go. It wrote out a New Year's Eve party invitation that's a lot better than what I could have written myself, especially with the time, the theme, the entertainment, the highlights. Obviously, it's not going to have everything right on, but you can go in there and edit it. It gives you a great kind of template to start from. And here's another example of using the Compose feature for something pretty interesting. So I wrote out, write a letter from a future self to the present self explaining how life turns out. Kind of deep, but we go ahead and do that in Notes, and we'll see what it comes up with. And you can see everything that it writes out right there. And you could also use the Compose feature to completely change existing text. So if you go to Compose right here and you have some text selected, you don't even have to have text selected, but you can, and you can include all text or just the selected text, and you can put in ChatGPT to change it to whatever you want. So if I say make it not so serious and make some car jokes / puns, it will change everything that was written there to match what I wrote in to compose. And you can see what that end result is right there. And again, this compose feature works in notes and messages in Safari. Wherever you have writing tools, you can use the compose feature. So you know how we have image playground in iOS 18.2 where we can create images like this? Well, you could also create more lifelike images with ChatGPT using DALL. So if you go ahead and say, create a hyper-realistic photo of a tabby cat on a blanket. So there is a look at our realistic image of a tabby cat on a blanket. And I think that looks pretty realistic. I mean, a lot more realistic than the image playground images. You can also save this very easily up in the top right-hand corner. If you tap on the save button, it will automatically save that image to your photo library. Now, here's a little trick that you might not know about. So if you go into your messages application and you go to ask Siri to generate an image using ChatGPT and DALL, check this out. ChatGPT, make a hyper-realistic image of a brown dog walking on the street. You can see it will automatically open up the compose section right here, the compose UI, and it will automatically input that dog into the text field. How cool is that? And here's another trick that you probably did not know about. So with ChatGPT on the iPhone, it can be pretty annoying sometimes when you ask something with your voice and you get the, results back and you lose it. You're not able to recover what you saw before. So let me give you an example. So for example, if I have this text right here and I can go up here and copy that text, but sometimes, if this goes away, or if you stop talking for a certain amount of time, this will just disappear. And if you're not logged into your ChatGPT account, it will be gone forever. You cannot go back to it and reference it or anything like that. But here's the trick to make sure that you keep your results that you really care about. Save this to my notes. Boom. Just by saying that after you get your result, it will automatically save this to your notes, and you can simply tap on that and it automatically saves that. You don't need to copy or anything. All you need to do is just say save to my notes and it will do that. And that is a trick that you will need to know if you are not signed in to ChatGPT. And even if you are signed in, sometimes it's just a lot easier and quicker to just simply save it to your notes if it's something that's of importance and something that you will want to reference later on. And the best part about it is you could use ChatGPT right here inside of the notes as well. So again, if you want to revise this selection, all you have to do is go into Compose and just say what you want to change in here. It's basically just like having a chat in the ChatGPT application, since everything is here for you to reference and iterate on. So ChatGPT also plays a role in visual intelligence. So if you have an iPhone 16 with the camera control button, you can now do object identification using visual intelligence thanks to the ChatGPT integration. So if I pull in this remote right here, for example, we can use ChatGPT when it comes to asking what it sees in the viewfinder. So if I have something in the viewfinder right here, I can simply tap on this ask button, and that will use ChatGPT to take a look at what is on our screen in the viewfinder, and it will tell us what it sees to describe it. And a way this might be beneficial is if you have maybe a dog breed that you're curious about the dog breed, or if you see something when you're out in nature and you just want to know what it is, you can do this and ask for details about what you're seeing. And you don't have to tap on the ask button right away. You can actually just take the photo and reference that later as well. So if I take the photo here, you can see then I can tap on ask, and it will automatically pull up, the information about what it sees. And if you have any additional questions, which, I was going to ask what type of fish that is, and that is correct. It is the ocean sunfish. I got it right. But if it didn't give me the exact details I wanted, I can follow up with something else. Okay, so now you'll notice that after using ChatGPT throughout this video, I am over my daily limit when it comes to advanced capabilities. Now, what does this mean? So you'll notice that if you look underneath of daily limit, it says you'll have access to ChatGPT's advanced capabilities until you reach your daily limit. Additional requests will use the basic version for up to 24 hours. And this limit is simply Apple informing us of OpenAI's rate limits for GPT-4o. You can still use ChatGPT, as you just saw, even if you exceed this limit. It's just going to use the basic version, which is most likely GPT-4o mini, instead of the default model, which is GPT-4o. So now what is the actual difference between the advanced and the basic models? So what is the difference between when you're under the limit and when you're over the limit in terms of the replies that you get back from ChatGPT? Well, first off, Apple does not clarify exactly what model is being used when it's in this basic mode, but based on the response times and the answers I've received when testing, it does appear to be GPT-4o Mini. Now, OpenAI does clarify the difference between GPT-4o and 4o Mini right here, but what I will say is that in real-world testing, on the iPhone specifically, I have not been able to tell a major difference whatsoever between these two models when I'm over the limit or when I'm under the limit, aside from the fact that the Mini model, when you're over the limit, is actually slightly faster at giving a response. And that's because I couldn't figure out what was considered like an advanced capability, as Apple says, during my regular testing. I tried multi-step, complex prompts, coding questions, conversions, you name it, and every response that I got back was great, even after I exceeded my daily limit and I was not signed in. So after being stumped, I decided to ask ChatGPT itself what these advanced capabilities are and to give example prompts for each one of them. So it gave me the answers and I got those example prompts and I was able to copy and paste those prompts into ChatGPT using both GPT-4o and GPT-4o Mini. And the GPT-4o result took about twice as long to write out, but it was a bit more detailed and complex. So yes, the GPT-4o results will be more detailed and offer better refinement suggestions in this case, but the end result was essentially the same, and most people are never going to be able to tell a difference, especially if you're only using the ChatGPT extension on iOS or on macOS. A lot of times, the main area where you're going to be able to notice a difference is if you're using the ChatGPT application, the standalone application, not the extension. And the reason I say that is because most people will never input such complex prompts on a ChatGPT extension on the iPhone or the Mac. They would do that using the ChatGPT application, if anything. And also, if they're doing that, they likely already pay for ChatGPT Plus anyways, and rarely have to worry about any type of limitation. So yeah, these limits are irrelevant for the strong majority of people who will just be asking basic questions on a daily basis. So with that being said, do you need ChatGPT Plus? And the obvious answer here is no, you do not need ChatGPT Plus. Now, could it be useful for some people? Yes, absolutely. It's $20 a month, so it's not cheap, but it can be beneficial and useful for you if you fall under one of these categories. So number one is if you want access to the advanced voice mode feature, which to me is extremely handy. I actually have that as a lock screen toggle on my main phone because I use the advanced voice mode on a daily basis. So that's the main reason it's worth it for me. But if you don't use advanced voice mode, the other reason to subscribe to ChatGPT Plus is to use ChatGPT for your business or your work. If you use it every day, you ask a lot of complex questions, you might want to pay the extra $20 a month just if you're going to make money from it, if you're using it in your business or your work. The other reason I would say that you might want to get ChatGPT Plus is if you upload attachments daily for ChatGPT to kind of dissect and ask complex follow-up questions. If you do a lot of that, then obviously you might want to pay for it so you don't have any limitations there. And the only other reason I can think of that you might need ChatGPT Plus is if you ask hundreds of questions daily and you need the most detailed response possible to those advanced prompts. But if none of those apply to you, then you do not need to get ChatGPT Plus. And then as far as ChatGPT on macOS Sequoia 15.2, everything that I mentioned throughout this video also applies to macOS. The interface is just going to be slightly different, and it's also just a lot easier to type to Siri with that full keyboard on the Mac. And just like with iOS, you could also have ChatGPT automatically take screenshots and be able to see what's on your desktop if you ask, questions that reference what's on your screen. So that is how the ChatGPT extension works on iOS 18.2 on the iPhone and macOS 15.2 on the Mac. So I hope this video helped you out. I hope it helped, clear the air on certain things like the daily limit and so on. So if it did, I would appreciate if you gave this video a thumbs up. Also, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.